Good morning, Los Angeles, and welcome to another edition of the Weekend Warrior Show. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Clapper. I'm an orthopedic surgeon at Cedars-Sinai. My guest today is a dynamic inventor. She's revolutionizing the world of broken bones by creating a new way to make a cast. Her idea is to use a 3D printer to make a cast that you can get wet in the pool, or for me, the ocean. We never had this before. The great Dr. David Culber, great hand surgeon, plastic surgeon, hooked me up with her. Her story is a fascinating one, and it made me think all week about waterproofing and the challenge of dealing with the ocean in surgery, art, in sports. The actual, just think about it. I mean, you can't have a cast in the water. It will disintegrate. The water will get in between the cast and your skin. Wait till you see what she's come up with. It's really impressive. And at 7:15, she'll be calling in from Colorado. But let's get right into the show. And at 7:15, we're going to hear from what a brilliant mind. And I love that she's a girl. She's a female engineer who's changing the world of orthopedics. You just got to love it. So if you can create a cast that can deal with the ocean, I want to talk to you. And coming up next, we will. We're going to be talking to the great Diana Hall, an inventor of a new revolution in casting that makes it waterproof, that you can deal with the ocean. You're listening to the one and only Weekend Warrior Show here on ESPN LA 710. It's a challenge to waterproof things, and not everybody's up for it. But my next guest has revolutionized the world of casting because she took on the challenge of the ocean, and she's done it so successfully. Diana, thanks so much for getting up early to be with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of all the things you come up with and how beautiful your casts are with the 3D printing, the thing that fascinates me the most is that it's waterproof, that you can wear it in the ocean. That, to me, and so can you imagine I would make a whole show about you and waterproofing and have Jerry Lopez and hula dancing involved, and somehow this is similar to me? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it sounds like you coordinated that.
So, we want to know who you are. What did your mom and dad do for a living? Where did you grow up? Tell us your story.
Oh, okay, sure. So I grew up in a small town in Colorado, Pueblo, and I grew up, my dad, he works at the Pentagon now, and my mom, he works for TSA, and my mom was a children's librarian growing up. So, and I'm a chemical engineer. So my brother had cystic fibrosis, so we spent a lot of time in children's hospital growing up with treatments and everything. So I spent a lot of time with kids having terminal illnesses and chronic conditions and dealing with health issues. And I knew that as an engineer, there was some way that I was supposed to be involved with helping them out. And everything just, it's funny how the stars align when you find out, oh, this is what everything in my life has led up to. This is what I'm supposed to be here doing. And that's what I'm doing.
This is just incredible, Diana, that you could take a tragic thing of cystic fibrosis, which, by the way, is treated beautifully with surfing. Did you know that? Because of the damage of the lung in cystic fibrosis is similar to ocean water. So when you take cystic fibrosis kids on surfing trips, their lungs, they do it big time in Australia, and we do it here in the States as well, but it's one of the most helpful things for kids with cystic fibrosis is to take them surfing.
Oh, that's awesome. My brother, we lived in Colorado, so there wasn't much surfing there, but my brother did a lot of martial arts, and that really helped him a lot with the pain management as well, because he would regulate his breathing and the focus and things like that. So martial arts really helped him, and he lived, he lived until 33, which is really long considering, he was born way back in the 70s, and he lived a full life, and he inspires me every single day, because those of us who aren't dealing with chronic pain and all of those things, we have no excuse but to not live 100% every day and give everything that we got.
This is the greatest story in the world, Diana, because you take tragedy, you take lemons and you make them into lemonade. to think that the tragic situation for your brother could be turned into not only helping you in your life, but look what you did. You became a chemical engineer, and then all these years later are benefiting total strangers all over the world because you came up with a cast. Because of the tragedy that happened to him, people benefit from it. It's unbelievable when you can do this with your life. God, I'm kvelling right now. That's what the Yiddish word is, to talk to someone who's like a hero. You're a hero of mine. Forget about getting Michael Jordan's autograph. I want Diana Hall's autograph. Amazing. So tell us what happened. How do you become a chemical engineer?
Sure.
Where did this happen?
So I was raised, in a small town under the poverty line, but I knew a lot about math and science. Just my brain is completely left-brained. It's all about math and science, and I'm not good at any of the other things that other kids were. And so when I found out that Colorado School of Mines, you did not have to take liberal arts classes or English or anything. I was like, perfect, that's the school I'm going to. So I got a scholarship to go there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to go. And my mom was very supportive in that and helping me. And I had a school counselor that helped me get a scholarship as well. So I went to Colorado School of Mines, majored in chemical engineering, graduated in 1997 with that degree and petroleum refining as well. And then I've worked in Fortune 500 companies across the country, mostly in software. And so as I developed simulation software for cell phone companies, things like that, I had done that for about 7 years, and then I took some time off when my daughter was little, so that I could have time with her while she was, a baby. And I started running a mentoring program for children in poverty in my hometown. There's a lot of government housing there, and those kids have a lot of domestic violence, substandard living conditions, so they would often come in with casts. And when they would come in with these casts, they would get filthy. A lot of them were on Medicaid too, so they couldn't afford, a lot of the options that other folks are having, and they didn't have transportation a lot of times. So that was hard because if a child would get his cast wet, for example, he couldn't go in and just get it replaced like a lot of people can. And so when they would come in with these filthy casts, they couldn't even wash their hands to have a snack. After 5 weeks of playing on the playground, and one little girl, she was sleeping on the floor in her grandparents' house and ended up with bed bugs under her cast. And the one little boy, he was in first grade, and he got his wet, and he was being raised by his elderly and disabled grandparents, and they didn't help him keep it in a bag outside of the shower. So he got his wet, and then he didn't want to tell because he didn't want to get in trouble. So he ended up with permanent scarring down his arm. And so I said, all right, because I knew about 3D printing. I knew that there were plastics that you could use. And I'm like, why isn't this available to the American consumer? Because I knew the technology was there to provide a better alternative. So I wondered why it wasn't available. And when I looked into it, there was a technology problem, the design. There was a regulatory issue with how to get it, listed with the FDA and how to test for things like biocompatibility and microporosity and all of those things. So I worked directly with research institutions like the University of Maryland and in collaboration directly with the FDA to help develop the test protocols for 3D printed orthoses. And so you'll see that I published research abstracts in collaboration with both of those groups at ACSM. I will be presenting again at American College of Sports Medicine Annual Conference this year, as well as I'll be doing a presentation at AAOS, American Association of Orthopedic
I'll be there.
Here.
Yeah.
So I'll see you there. And I'll be in the Innovation Theater, so you can come by and see me there presenting. So anyway, after we resolved the regulatory issues, I looked into the business model problem because these big companies were trying to sell 3D printers that require solvents and calibration on the printers and hot plastics and all that to doctors and hospitals. And they were trying to do the CAD design and all that kind of stuff there. And I thought this needed to be outsourced as an engineering offering. And so I developed the process end to end that would produce casts that would work for things like chronic conditions like carpal tunnel, as well as acute injuries like breaks and sprains. And then I field tested them with doctors across the Colorado Front Range to start. Put them on patients and had them help me with the designs that would make sense for patients, like a wrist cock-up and MP blocking for if you have a boxer fracture or, thumb spikas, things like that. And we worked out all the design issues that would make them ideal for patients. So there's a whole process, the 3D body image scan that it starts with. It makes these accurate to the half millimeter. Then it goes into the design, which every single one is hand designed onto the patient. So if they want it thicker or thinner, or certain things exposed for if they have pins or incisions, you can expose them or protect them. If they want to use a bone stimulator, you can make a port for that.
Diana, I almost want to break my arm so I can use your cast. That's how much I'm in love with you right now. And I think you need to have not like you don't have enough jobs to do. I need you to run for president because I think you should run the country, to be honest with you. You're unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, we've had some real winners in there lately, so I'm not sure, but yeah.
No, that's why we need you. It's amazing. ActivArmor.
I don't think I want to do that. I know engineering. I don't know anything about politics. Thank God.
You know what's the irony of your life, though, that's really incredible to me? Because I was the opposite. I was an art history major in college. I couldn't wait to find a place. The pre-med stuff was one thing, but I just wanted to learn about Michelangelo and art. And yet I'm a surgeon and I'm totally into science because of it. But I wanted to go the way of art, but now I'm into science. But nothing that you've done could happen unless, and you may not want to admit this, but unless you actually did have a creative side to you, because ultimately that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and the design is beautiful. I mean, if you see them on our website, on ActivArmor.com, they are beautiful. And the reason that I actually started the company and I called it Amphibian Skin because it's made after the texture of the skin on amphibians, where they can go from water to land, wet to dry, and it's just really cool because it's based on nature, right? Because nature is our greatest teacher, and it always has been. And when we utilize the things that we've learned in creation and in nature, then we can, and when we try to emulate them here, they always end up with better solutions, really more holistic solutions than we could come up with just using the science itself.
Well, you know what? I'm president of the Diana Hall fan club officially right now, and I hope to see you in Las Vegas. Will you have a booth at the American Academy Orthopedic Surgery Convention?
Yep, just look for ActivArmor. We'll be there.
You look for Dr. Clapper. I'm the guy with no hair on top of his head. You can't miss me. Well, maybe you can.
There's lots of guys like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the Vin Diesel of orthopedic surgery. Diana,
looking forward to it.
So people can get to your website, right? Say it again. It's ActivArmor.com.
Yep, ActivArmor.com. It's all one word. And yeah, you can find the clinics there that are providing. So if you are a patient, we just opened up at Beverly Hills Hand Surgery Center, right there in the Cedars-Sinai Towers. Right
David Culber. He's the reason I'm talking to you right now. I want a big shout out and thank him for doing that. Diana, thanks so much for doing this. I think the word is now out, and you've inspired me to do a whole show about hula dancing and making surf movies, because challenging the ocean with every aspect, every bit of you is in this whole product is just really one of the great stories that we've ever had. Thanks so much for getting up early to be with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great one.
All right. You too, Diana. Wow. That's amazing. Incredible. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of dealing with the water like plumbing. And my favorite plumber, Vincent Laporcio. I know he's listening, and it's a shout-out. If you ever need a plumber in Los Angeles, he's the guy to call. Wow. Can you imagine? The water can go through the cast. When you see it in person, you should check out the website, and you'll see why she can get away with it with this cast. It's really cool looking as well. All right, coming up next, I'm going to take your calls. The clinic will be open. The number's 877-710-ESPN. Coming up next, I'm going to tell some stories. My guest at 7:15, if you want to listen again to the podcast, Diana Hall. What an inspiring person, a young female engineer who's revolutionizing our world with making casts that are waterproof. And it inspired me to think about battling and yet working with the ocean, water. She's doing it with cast material so that you can go swimming after you break your arm. But what about the challenge of working with the ocean in art, in sports? Coming up next, you're going to hear what I came up with. Talking about making surf movies, the 3 greatest surf filmmakers, and about the whole world of hula dancing that does directly connect with the power and the energy and the spirit of the ocean. Thanks so much for listening. Coming up next, you're going to hear some more stories by the one and only Dr. Clapper on the Weekend Warriors Show on ESPN LA 710.